Greetings and welcome to Lighting the World with Truth. Today, I shouldn't say topic, let's put the title, No Reserves, No Retreats, and No Regrets. I wonder what this is about. And I have with me my special guest, Brother Michael. Welcome, Brother Michael, and would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Brother Michael Kadow. I'm a Lois Christian brother, and I have been residing in Racine for the past 12 years. I have enjoyed my years in Racine, and I'm 50-something years old.
Okay, all right, when you say De La Salle, just explain this for our viewers in case they don't know what that means.
Okay, our official title of our religious community is Brothers of the Christian Schools, but we're more commonly known as the De La Salle Christian Brothers because we were founded by St. John Baptist de La Salle, who was a French priest of the 17th century, and so as a result today we have that term De La Salle Brothers, and our spirituality is referred to as Lasallian, so those might be some terms they use during our programs.
Okay, thank you. Now, you said you came to Racine so many years. How did you end up coming here in the first place?
Well, in the winter of 2002, a gentleman from Racine by the name of Mike Frontier, who perhaps some of our viewers know, called me because he was going to begin a school in this town, and he had heard that I might be interested in helping with the program. I was at that time teaching in Manitowoc, Wisconsin at Roncalli High School, and was interested in social justice work and education. Of course, I was teaching religion at the time, and so he invited me to consider coming to visit the site of the new San Juan Diego Middle School in St. Patrick Parish, and as a result I took him up on the visit, and one thing led to another, and I eventually agreed to move and to be part of the staff in 2003. But it was 2002 that I got the invitation.
Yes, because that's when we got to know each other too. I remember that.
That's right.
Yes, in our meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you came for San Juan Diego. That's how you started. But I think you've been in other ministries. Would you please explain some of the other ministries that you've been involved in since you've been here? Let's see. That would make. If we start with 2002, sure, but that's 13 years, you know.
Well, the first year was a planning year, and I was on the board of the school, and then the following year, in 2003, the school began. And the school lasted for 6 years, and while we had the school, I taught religion, I worked with the faith formation of the students and the staff, and then I also was principal 1 year. So then, in 2009, the school closed, and I and Father Ricardo Martin and Shirley Heck began what's called now the John the 23rd Educational Center. And the John the 23rd Educational Center is not a school, it's an after-school and evening program. And so here at the center I have worn 3 hats, I like to say. I worked with the students after school and in the evening in the study halls. I also oversaw the mentor-tutor program, which we have, where we have about 65 volunteers who come in and assist the students. And then the third ministry that I was involved in at the school was the outreach program, which is a program of facilitating groups in the middle schools mainly of Racine, mainly the public schools, and working on social and emotional skills. So that was a program that we've been doing now for 6 years also. So those are the 3 areas.
The 3 areas that you've been in different schools. It's not all the same.
Right, about 7 different schools in Racine, correct.
And you work with the, what grades are they?
Well, mainly middle school. Some schools we have done elementary groups.
Okay.
But in general it's the middle school population. And I primarily worked with the boys, the young men, and then our female staff has facilitated the girl groups. Yeah.
So you mentioned different ministries, and so how have they affected you, these ministries?
Well, I would say they've had a great effect on me, particularly because this is the first time that I have actually worked with such diverse students. Generally, in my years of teaching, I taught middle-class Caucasian students, and here in Racine, it's school and in the center, most of our students are Latino, and in the middle schools in the outreach, I would say there's a real mixture of Latino, African American, and Caucasian, and a number of our students here in Racine come from a lower economic background and not a lot of education background in the family. So the social aspect of the students is very different than the students I've worked with, and they've had a great impact on me because I've learned to see the world from another point of view. I've learned not to bring my own expectations and my own prejudices, put them on the students. I've also learned to be more appreciative of different people's journeys as far as starting with less and then moving forward, and how important that is. So that's had a big impact. I've been living in the neighborhood here on Douglas Avenue, and it's in a sense, so I've been living literally next to the center and the school, and that's made a difference also. Just being in the what I guess is referred to as the inner city of Racine.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you did, but there's more to your story than what you did. Would you please elaborate on that?
Well, when I came to Racine, as I had just previously mentioned, I did not have any experience of working in a setting that was different from my upbringing. And so as a result, I learned a lot about life. I learned a lot about really seeing the world from the point of view of other groups. For example, looking at the role of government, the role of police, the role of service providers, the role of jails and prisons, and the role of violence, and all of those things impacting young people. And I also learned a whole lot about the many good educators in the public schools, because when I was teaching all my prior life, I was in Catholic schools and didn't have a very high regard for public education. And so the last 6 years especially, that has changed, where I've met a lot of people in the public schools who are dedicated and really go the extra mile for their students that they work with. Teachers, administrators, counselors, secretarial or administrative staff have really had very impressed with that. Also, I've met people who have affected my life in a very
That's what I was just going to ask.
way.
Are there any other relationships that affected you?
Yes. First of all, in Racine, our religious community was much more diverse than communities I've lived in the past. So, for example, I've lived with Dominican volunteers, LaSalle volunteers, and Vista volunteers in my years here, and each of those groups are composed of young people who give a year or two of service to usually people in lower economic areas. And I've lived with them and shared meals, shared prayer, shared social life with them, and have really grown as a person through my relationships with the young people and their view of faith, their passion for working with young people, and so forth. Also, I'm happy to say that I had a great experience getting to know Racine Dominicans, such as yourself, and getting to understand the charism of the sisters. I had not met the sisters before moving to Racine, and from the very first day I encountered people in Racine, I have felt very impressed and welcome, and very admiring of the sisters and their mission, and that's affected how I look at ministry. Another organization that I've been involved with is the Racine Interfaith Coalition, otherwise known as RIC, and getting to know the different members involved with all faiths has been another wonderful experience for me. The sense of working on social justice, the sense of working on common issues that are part of all faiths' views, really opened up my mind to the importance of networking with other groups. I would also have to say that being part of St. Patrick Parish has been a very positive experience, because they are mainly Latino community now, and also have been very involved with justice issues for many, many years. So the mission and then also the warmth of the parishioners was very, very touching for me in the sense that the life in the parish was very personal. It's not a big parish, so you get to know a lot of people, and all those factors have really helped change my my worldview.
Wonderful, those are wonderful ideas. Now, I understand that you're moving on, that you're not going to stay. Would you tell us about that?
Yes, that is correct. About 6 months ago, I was invited by our provincial, which in religious communities is the leader of our community, to join the leadership of our Midwest district, or the Midwest part of the USA of De La Salle Brothers and our partners. And so, starting in only a few weeks, I will be moving to Chicago and living there and working in our office in Burr Ridge, Illinois. And that's where I'll be working primarily with young men joining the community, as well as a group called Young LaSallians, who are 22 to 35-year-old young people who are either teachers or other types of educators who have had some sort of LaSallian background, and they would just like to become more involved in the mission, more involved in developing their own spiritual life. So I'll be walking with, or as we say, accompanying them. And then I'll also be visiting different of our ministries in the Midwest and LaSallian communities, such as the one we have in Racine. So that's a 4-year commitment, and it begins next month, July 1st. And so as a result, that is another whole chapter waiting to be lived out.
Something new, okay.
I won't be working with young students for the first time, 35 years, but as someone has said to me, well, your classroom is just getting bigger now. And
that's a good way to look at it. It's becoming yes.
Yes, so yes, I am in the transition process of moving along.
Yeah, that's not easy, is it? I mean,
No.
It's difficult to make after we're here, you know.
Right.
Almost 13 years.
Right.
Yeah. So, as I said in the beginning, no reserves, no retreats, and no regrets. From listening to you, that's very true, isn't it? Now, we're finishing now. Are there any words of wisdom that you'd like to give or share with our viewers?
Well, I guess the main thing I would say is that if anyone feels an inclination to do something different or to move into a new area of work or a new community or a new ministry, go ahead and try it. You know, you don't know how it will affect you. Also be prepared that even though you're in a set place, that your role might change, and don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the fact that things change, and that therefore you're maybe afraid to lose certain things, but you gain others. So that's something I've learned too, from especially when the school closed. When we reopened the center, it was a whole other way of life that I would never have foreseen. So that would be that's a bit of knowledge I guess I would pass on to them.
So I want to thank you so much, Brother Mike, for sharing with us, and we'll keep you in our prayers, you know, as you launch out, as they say, launch out into the deep.
Thank you.
And there's a quote I'd like to end up with that from the LaSallian Brothers, and it says, to touch the hearts of your students is the greatest miracle you can ever perform. Let's all remember that. Students, and not just necessarily sitting in a classroom, students, greatest miracle. And again, thank you. And my viewers, thank you also for listening, and blessings on all you do. And remember, once you know the truth, you are responsible for it.